All right, this is live. Hello, YouTube. Hope you guys are doing very, very well. Azren, the language nerd here. I'm super excited to be kicking off this very first Tuesday Talks with Azren. As you guys can see, this is a brand new segment on my YouTube channel. You guys will have to bear with me for like 17 seconds as I kick this off on Facebook as well. This is going to be kind of going on both Facebook and YouTube. And so give me one sec as I just kick this off on Facebook here. Here we go. All right. One moment, everybody. Go live. Okay. Should start up on Facebook momentarily here. Give it a second. Facebook. Come on, Facebook. All right. I think Facebook is running as well. All right, everyone. How's it going? Azren, the language nerd here. Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Azren. So right now this is running on YouTube and on Facebook. And I want to kick things off by explaining what this is and how this was born. So I run a group on Facebook called the Language Learning Nerds. And many of you are watching this live stream in that group, the Language Learning Nerds. So I am Azren, the language nerd, and I'm the one who runs this group. I'm the organizer. I'm the creator of it. And this group is rapidly growing. This Facebook group, the Language Learning Nerds, is rapidly growing, rapidly. And I was thinking recently that I'm not happy with how I'm running this group. I think I could be doing a much better job running this group, and I could be doing, I could run this group in a way where it really benefits language learners. One of the big focuses for myself professionally is to make language learners better at their target languages. That's a big, big focus of mine. And I was like, you know what? There's a Facebook group that I run that has 20,000 plus people in it, and I'm not doing my best work in running this group. So I've got someone working part-time right now who's helping with the moderation and the facilitation and running this Facebook group. And one of the parts of his job was to think about, what can we do to make this a better group? What can we do to run this in a more effective manner? And one idea that he had, and I agree with him, is we should have some pillar content that we have that benefits the people in the group. So one of those things is called Tuesday Talks with Azren, where we put a poll. There's going to be a poll that's posted on the Facebook group every single. It's going to be posted every single Monday. It'll be posted, so 24 hours before. So Monday, there's going to be a poll that's posted asking about language learning, what you would like, what you struggle with when it comes to language learning. We're going to look at the poll results, and then based on the poll results, I'm going to make a video on Tuesday at 12 p.m. Calgary time, so that's Mountain Standard Time. I will make a video that addresses that topic to give you the best advice I can think of to help you with that particular topic. So with the poll that we posted, this is running on YouTube as well. So hello, YouTube people. I'll just give you a quick wave. Hey, YouTube. Hello, Lolly Lolly from France. Nice to see you. So on the poll that we posted, I'll share the poll results. The question that was asked, this is by the Calgary Language Nerds. That's the business I run. And so that's the Facebook page that posted it, one of the admins of the group. Let me open it up. So poll results. The question was, what do you struggle with the most in language learning? And we got a whole bunch of results. The top one was listening comprehension with 159 votes. So 159 people said listening comprehension is the hardest thing. Second and third, a super close second and third. Second place was pronunciation with 74 votes. And third place was verb conjugation with 73 votes. And so what I'd like to focus the bulk of our time on today is the listening comprehension. We may get into some of the other topics, so pronunciation and verb conjugation. We may get into some of that as well, but I want to focus on the most popular topic based on that poll, based on the survey. So for listening comprehension, one of the reasons why I believe people struggle with it is due to expectations. Many language learners expect themselves to be able to understand content that is designed for native speakers. And the reality is that most language learners, when they are struggling, quote unquote, with listening comprehension, they're expecting themselves to understand content designed for native speakers when they're not at a strong enough level to understand content designed for native speakers. I'll give you an example, or an analogy. I'll give you an analogy. It would be like if you played tennis against one of the best tennis players in the world and you expected yourself to win. You probably aren't going to win. And it's not fair to expect yourself to win against one of the best tennis players in the world. And that's just how it is for listening comprehension. To understand a video or piece of content, an audio piece of content that is designed for native speakers, it requires an incredibly high level of fluency in that language. So the first piece of advice I would like to give everybody today when it comes to listening comprehension is to set realistic expectations of what you are able to understand and what you are unable to understand given your level. By fixing your expectations, by keeping your expectations in check, you're not going to get as demotivated. You're not, because you're not going to listen to something and feel upset that you don't understand, because you knew you probably weren't going to understand that. So keeping your expectations in check is incredibly important. Now, once you have your expectations in check, it's going to fix it. It's going to, many of you are going to say, once you really internalize that statement, many of you are going to realize that listening comprehension is actually not one of the biggest challenges that you're facing, because you're like, oh, it's not that listening comprehension was hard. It's that I expected myself to understand this video or this movie or this song when I'm just a beginner. Of course, I'm thinking it's hard because I'm expecting myself to do something that's well above my level, right? So that's going to fix it for a lot of people if you can really internalize that statement. I want to answer this question in the chat. I see Honey in the chat. Yes, you ask your questions in the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Now, second piece of advice when it comes to listening comprehension is you need to be working with content that is at your level. If you've been studying a language for 6 months or 3 months or 2 months or whatever period of time, you have to find content that is at your level. So if you are a beginner trying to watch a movie and trying to practice listening comprehension with a movie is probably not the best idea. Probably not. It's too hard. On the flip side, if you are very advanced in a language and you would like to work on your listening comprehension, watching a quick, here's a good one. If you're reasonably strong, if you're upper intermediate, a podcast might be too easy for you, maybe, and you might need to seek out some harder content. So you want to practice listening comprehension with content that is at your level, or maybe a little bit past your level, a little bit challenging. That's very, very important. You have to pick content that is at your level or slightly above, and not way above and not way below. That's very, very important as well. Point number 3 when it comes to listening comprehension is you have to listen to the same piece of content multiple times. Let's say you watched a video, you can follow the following process. This process works for me and it works for a lot of people that I personally work with. You found a piece of content that's at your level. Fantastic. You need to listen to the whole thing without pausing. No subtitles, no pausing. Listen to the whole piece of content. Do the best you can. Then you're going to rewind to the very beginning. You're going to listen again, but I want you to listen with same language subtitles only. Don't pause. Just watch. Just listen. Absorb. Listen to the sounds. Try and do everything you can to understand. Okay? By the way, Shonak in the Facebook chat, I see you. So I will answer that question in a moment. Although I'm curious, I don't understand your question. Your question is, what's the best idea to begin with? I don't know what you mean. Could you clarify that question? Thank you. Now, so then you're gonna watch again with same language subtitles. Now I want you to go back. If you have the option to put English subtitles or subtitles in your language, that's great. And you can put those on as well if you can. If not, that's okay. And now I want you to watch the same piece of content again. And I want you to pause after each sentence and be like, do I understand what they said? Did I understand? Does that make sense to me? Yes. If it's a yes, hit play and watch the next sentence. And you're going to go sentence by sentence until you're able to understand everything in that particular video. Then you're not done. You're going to go back to the beginning and you're going to listen again to the whole thing. And in fact, even after you've done 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sentences, you need to go back to the beginning and listen to those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sentences again without pausing to see if you can understand. If not, you're going to pause at the point where you didn't understand, read the subtitles, say, oh yeah, that word, right. Do it again, rewind, watch again. You're watching the same piece of content over and over and over, and even sometimes certain chunks of that content over and over and over. You're going to watch repeatedly until it finally starts to click in your mind, until finally your brain's able to understand. And this is why, especially for the intermediates and beginners, I'm not a fan of doing active listening practice. This is active, what we're talking about. This is active listening practice. I'm not a fan of doing it with longer pieces of content. I think you need to find something that's 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, not 10 minutes, not 60 minutes, not 30, not 90, not a movie. Because imagine how long it's going to take you to watch a whole movie, going sentence by sentence and doing such an active and intensive listening practice. So doing that kind of practice will help you tremendously when it comes to listening practice and listening comprehension. And you need to do that for in a large number of pieces of content, and you will notice your listening gets better. Let's answer Shonak's question here. If he says, or Shunak, I don't know how to pronounce that name. That's okay. When you are saying to pick a content to understand comprehension, what can I choose to begin with? Yeah, so what kind of content to choose? I think it depends on your level. So let's go level by level. If you're a pure beginner and you know nothing, zero in the language, I think you need to start developing your bases. I think the first things you need to listen to are just videos that have the alphabet. Even have a teacher that teaches you the alphabet, the sounds of the language, a couple of basic words and phrases. My name is, hello, goodbye, please, thank you. You need to build some basics, because of course you're not going to be able to understand anything. You know nothing. Let's say you're a beginner, but you know a little bit, but you're still kind of in those beginner phases. I would probably find, what would I find if you're like a beginner? Often, you know what? Here's the answer no matter your level. No matter what, here's what you need to do. You need to go on YouTube and you need to search A1 listening, A1, like letter A, number 1, A1 listening comprehension, insert your language. Most languages are going to have stuff on YouTube or on Google where you can have some listening at an A1 level. If A1's really easy, move on to A2. A2 listening comprehension, insert the language, French, Spanish, English, whatever. Listen, if it's super easy, move on to B1. So the levels are A1, A2, those are the first 2 levels, right? If those are easy, you're going to go 1 up. B1, B2. If those are too easy, go up again. C1, C2. And once you get to the C1, C2, you're going to have some challenges. If you're at if you're at like a B1, if you're at like a B1, B2 kind of level, maybe B2 or if B1 is quite easy, right? And you're getting into that B2 range, now you can probably start to practice with some content design for native speakers. That's not terrible. I think you can really do some active listening practice with that. So that's a great way to find content that's roughly at your level. Yeah, that's roughly at your level. It's a great way to find things. Tip number 4, is it tip number 4, tip number 5? We're at for listening comprehension. One of the two, I forget. For listening comprehension, the other thing that I believe that helps me anyway is at all times during your language learning process, I do think it's a good idea to be listening to some things that are in the target language and designed for native speakers. Like music, for example, is great, or maybe there's a show you watch with English subtitles. I think having some at all times, beginner, intermediate, advanced, no matter your level, if you have things, if you're listening to content that is designed for native speakers, made by native speakers, and they're using natural speech, I think it's not bad to be listening to it, because you're still going to learn a couple of phrases, a couple of words. It's going to get your ears used to the language and what it sounds like. It still will be useful for you. Just don't expect yourself to understand everything. In fact, if you're depending on how advanced you are, you're not going to understand a huge percentage of what you're listening to, and that's okay. That's totally fine. That is 100% okay. Tip number, what are we? Tip number 6 now. Let's say number 6, 5, 6, whatever it is. Next tip, and maybe we'll finish with this particular piece of advice here. Perhaps the final piece of advice on listening comprehension that I would like to share with everybody today is I think it's a great idea, no matter your level, beginner, intermediate, advanced, no matter your level, I think it's a great idea for you to be using, to have real life situations, to have real life reasons as to why you are, how do I say this? You need to find ways to use the language that you're learning in a real life situation. There we go. So for example, in, let's see, what examples can I give you? In every language except for maybe French, but Spanish and Mandarin, I can share with those two. Even when I was a beginner, I would try to do language exchanges. I would find people online and I would try to practice the target language with them. When I was a beginner, I could only say pretty simple things. Oh, my name is this. I like learning the language. Where are you from? I'm from Canada. Very simple things. That's all I could say, but I would really practice with real people. I used to, now it's easy for me, but I used to go and order food. I'd go to restaurants that were like Chinese restaurants or things like that, and I would order food, for example. And I would practice like that, and that would be a great way to practice. Spanish, same thing. I'd practice that way. What else would I do to practice? Sometimes I try and read like actual articles online, or read things that, that not just to practice, but I'd read things that I actually needed to know. I would read, how do I say this? I would read things not because I wanted to, but because I needed to read it. So for example, what's a good example here? Mandarin's a good one. I remember I would choose to read, not even choose, sometimes I had no choice, but even if I had a choice, I would choose to read the Mandarin titles in Chinese restaurants of dishes and not the English titles. I would choose to read the Mandarin because I wanted to order food, and I'm like, let me actually try and read the menu here. That's like a real example of me needing, like I needed to read it to understand, right? That's a real life application. Or another example would be, let's see here. What's another example I can give you? If you change your phone language to the target language, now you're applying your knowledge to navigate your phone, right? So applying your knowledge at all levels, at all phases in your studies, applying your knowledge, right? And that's not always going to be listening. I gave 2 reading examples, I suppose. I didn't give a listening example. Perhaps a listening example would be if you lived in the United States. I don't live in the United States, but let's say you did. When you call in many companies in the United States, often they give you an option to navigate the, it's like, it's like press 1 to speak to an agent, press 2 for sales, press 3 for this. When you get that, do it in Spanish. Often they offer that option in Spanish. Do it in Spanish. Navigate that in Spanish. Do not pick the English option. Now, when they connect you to the agent, you might, depending on how a beginner you are, you might choose to hang up and call again and do it in English. But that's a great idea. If you're intermediate or advanced, you might choose to actually try and navigate your complaint call in Spanish and not in English, right? That's a real life example. So real life practice. I'm a big, big fan of real life practice. So, all right. Let me see what comments we have here. I think we have one on YouTube and we have one on Facebook. Facebook, can I invite you to my class? I'm teaching for free in Korean. No, because I'm not learning Korean. But if you message me, I do know someone who might be interested in your class. He's learning Korean. He's looking for lots of resources. A friend of mine. I might be able to connect you guys. Message me. I could probably connect. I could maybe send me some details and I'll send it to my friend. He might be interested. Let me hop over to YouTube. I haven't looked at YouTube in a while. YouTube, Lolly Lolly says, I can understand you very well, but I can't understand any words when I watch a movie, even if I know the vocabulary. I wonder why. Excellent question, Lolly. Let me tell you why. There's a few reasons why this happens. Even if you can see the words, first of all, you have to understand that movies, most people find movies hard to understand. Even if you know the words and you're quite strong in the language, movies tend to be a little bit harder to understand. And my hypothesis as to why that happens is an audio quality. The audio quality on a video like this is pretty basic. There's no microphones. I don't adjust the levels. There's no background music. It's just me talking, right? Still screen, no movement. But in movies, they have microphones, right? They have the microphones, the boom mics, right? That kind of fall from the top. They have different microphones, there's different background noises. The actors, the way people talk in movies is not also how people tend to talk in real life. If you think about that, they don't use the same, they talk differently. I don't know how to explain it, but they're not talking the same way that we would talk in regular day-to-day conversations. They just don't. They talk in movie style because it's a movie and there's a slightly different register cadence. It's just different, a little bit different. So movies are hard to understand, actually, weirdly enough. They are difficult to understand. If you're not even with the subtitles, if you're not able to hear, like you physically, you hear the word, you know what they're saying, but you don't hear it, you need to keep listening. You need to rewind, listen to the part again and be like, keep listening and see until you can hear the words that the people are using. It might even help to slow the video down, to put it on 0.75 speed, so slow it down by 25%, just so you can hear the words. Practice like that a couple times, then put it back to 100% speed and listen again. Like, oh, now I can hear the words. That's a great training and ear training for you to be doing. It's a really, really good ear training for you to do. So, okay, well, it's about 12:28 p.m., 12:30 almost here my time. We've been going for long enough. I hope you guys enjoyed Tuesday Talks with Azren #1. I think I'm going to keep this going. I don't know. We're going to see if it's popular. We're going to see if it feels like the right decision. We're going to see if people like it and watch it and it's helpful. As I said, the whole goal of organizing this Tuesday Talk with Azren was to put something in place that we genuinely felt could help this language learning community. That was the purpose of it. And so if I feel, we'll do this for a few weeks, and if I feel that it's effective and it's really helping people out, then we'll keep running these. But if not, we'll probably cancel it. But we'll run it on a trial basis, at least for a few weeks. So Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll run it on a trial basis for a while. Hopefully it goes well. And so I guess I'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Facebook, goodbye. Let's end you guys first. Goodbye, Facebook. And let's move over to YouTube now, and let's end the YouTube stream.